And we're back.
We're back.
Episode 2, man.
Yeah, man.
Episode 1 was fun. I loved the introductions. It was cool.
I loved seeing how many times I say on camera. Can I just point something out? That Ant sort of dressed the set today, and he put a bottle of Jameson this close to me. And at this point, anyone who knows me in real life will know what a dangerous decision this was. So I'm hoping that by the end of the episode, the hot button topic you give me is like real spicy, because I will go in on whatever it is. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, bro.
What are you drinking?
I got a little high noon here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, man.
We're both drinking. Great.
Yeah. Okay, my guy. So episode 2, we have a few things we want to talk about today.
I am ready. I have dressed to camouflage with the couch for this particular episode, which I totally didn't realize till I sat down.
I actually should have worn a brown shirt. It would have been perfect.
No,
or a beige, right?
I was going to say, if you went beige, we could have just totally blended in. I just made no comment about it.
So actually, before we start, I know you guys might see this blue book in the middle of this table here. I want to give a quick shout out to my co-host here. He got his photo put into one of Wes Anderson's photo book, which is pretty remarkable. I mean, if you're a photographer, I feel like that's pretty important.
The quick story on it is, so accidentally Wes Anderson, I first found them on Instagram, and I'm a big Wes Anderson buff. They basically post photos that other photographers have taken that have sort of that vibe, that, you know, the colors, the geometric vibes that Wes Anderson movies have. And I've been a complete Wes like nut forever. And the Instagram has always been really cool. I always peruse it. I took this photo in Suburban Station in Philly that at the time was just a throwaway shot. I'm totally the guy that brings a camera with him everywhere. So this particular night, I don't even remember why I was taking the train home. I'm sure I like drank too much and needed a ride home. But there was a bank of phone booths, and it was just one of those. I remember taking it going, this is such like a stereotypical photo.
Yeah.
But after I put edits on it and all that kind of stuff, I really liked how it turned out, and I thought it was kind of right up the alley of the Wes Anderson site. So I submitted it on their website thinking, hey, this might be cool if they just put me on their Instagram and tag me. Get some traction there. Yep. I think maybe 6 months went by. Nothing ever happened. I was like, all right, well, whatever. It's not the first time I've tagged someone or something and didn't get reposted. It's fine. So then I got an email from Wally and Amanda, who are the authors of the book.
Oh, nice.
Saying, hey, by the way, your photo's in the running for the second print of the book, which is crazy because first,
no one even told you anything.
Well, right. And the first edition of the book I bought as soon as I discovered it. I was like, this is great. So that was crazy. And then a couple months later, I got another email that said, hey, your photo's been accepted. And the funny part about it is I had no intention of getting published. It was just like, hey, I'm taking this. This is total like a social media banger, you know?
Exactly.
And after it got published, I totally didn't realize, but they got, I think, like 500,000 submissions, and they picked, I think 100 photos maybe for these.
500,000.
Yeah, it was crazy. And Wes actually wrote the foreword to the book. Like he's seen all these photos, so he had something to do with it, which I thought was really, really cool. And it's just an honor. I've never thought I'd be published in anything, let alone a book that I already really liked. Yeah, and had no intention of doing it. So shout out, man. Wally and Amanda. Thank you guys so much. It's been great.
That being said, let's hop into what we want to talk about today.
That's a great segue because the fashion in Wes Anderson movies.
Ooh.
So other funny part about this is I bought this suit because this is like Wes's uniform. He wears like brown suits all the time.
Nice. Yeah. So on that topic, what I want to talk to you about today, Simon, is fashion from vendors in the wedding industry. Most of us wear all black. Some people wear all black t-shirts, branded t-shirts, polos, sometimes dress shirts. But if you're a client of mine or if you're a friend of mine, you know that I love fashion, and so does Simon. Now, when I go to my weddings, I like to wear a little pop of color sometimes. I will wear all black, but sometimes I like to mix it up and wear a nice suit or just something unique. Not because I'm trying to stand out, but because I love fashion. And I think a wedding day is full of fashion. It's full of people wearing their best on a special day.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I have my staples for weddings. I have a black suit, that, while it's still a black suit, it fits me the right way. I always try to present myself in a certain way because I don't like being considered to help, if that makes sense.
Agreed.
There were times in the infancy of our wedding business that at some point someone might have passed me a dish to clean up or asked me a question that I didn't know the answer. And while it is what it is, I realized that, that's not me. I've always been someone who is, loud with my fashion.
Absolutely, bro.
And the way we shoot, at least, I want to either blend in as much as possible, or sometimes I want to be like, hey, look at that guy.
Right.
Exactly. And that's sort of how I've always done clothes. The biggest thing I get from people, and I'm sure you've heard this too, is, hey, I wish I could pull that off.
Right.
Which is a whole nother topic.
Time.
But you know how you pull that off? You just wear it.
You just do it.
And don't acknowledge it.
And you wear things that express your personality.
Yeah. And I definitely think that as, an artist, anytime I use a buzzword, just know that in the back of my head, I'm going, I hate that I just said that. But I want to express myself. I'm very much into fashion, men's fashion, and I like to use shooting weddings as an excuse to try something different.
Yeah. So I have an idea for you. I want to do a do's and don'ts for dressing up as a vendor.
As a vendor, I love it.
So I'm going to give you one do, I'll give you another don'ts, and we go back and forth.
Ooh, I like this. Okay.
All right.
Now, caveat, question. Is this any wedding vendor or is this specific to a certain thing? Because
I would say any wedding vendor.
Okay.
So like planners, florists, photographers. I mean, this is mainly for photographers and videographers, but it can pertain to anyone.
And I only ask because, different vendors have different things that they are being asked to do and are in front or not in front of guests in a certain capacity too.
Sure. Okay. So one do for me is dressing up professionally. What's your do?
My do is dress so that you can work. If you are a florist and are going to be getting a little dirty before the wedding and maybe not be in front of guests, like I'm sure you want to wear something nice, but maybe not a suit.
See, here's my thing though. This might be controversial, but you are a representation of your brand.
100%.
So yes, you're going to be getting down and dirty and maybe putting flowers and running around all over the place. But should you do that in sweatpants and a t-shirt? I don't think so.
But I don't think you should.
Right. I think if anything, wear a branded piece of clothing that says Jane Doe's Floral, or maybe just something that is semi-nice that you can still feel comfortable to work in.
I think, this just reminded me of something funny. I think that it's actually very funny. When you're at a wedding, you're probably the same as me. You can tell who's doing what job many times by what they wear. Like, I guarantee you, if you put everybody who is working the wedding in a lineup in front of me, I'd be like, that's the DJ.
Absolutely.
Or that's the planner. That's the florist.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a subconscious thing, but that definitely has to do with what you choose, how you choose to present yourself, which is sort of the overarching theme of this. We're talking about fashion, but it's sort of how you choose to present yourself in your professional setting.
I've learned in this industry that you never know who you're going to meet. You can be setting up for a wedding and someone passing by could potentially be getting married and see how you're working and love your work. And again, this is not targeted to just florists, but like just in general, like if I was working with a couple and, we're shooting inside the venue before guests come, there could be someone that's within the venue that sees how I'm working and dressed and appropriate for the setting. They could be like, oh, wow, I love this guy. Let me get his information before I go home.
And that leads into a don't of mine. Don't dress with the assumption that the wedding guests don't care how you look because you're working.
I agree.
And what I mean by that is I've seen people in all capacities of the wedding industry wear things that I go, huh. And I'll give you an example without naming anybody or their profession by name. But we were shooting a very expensive wedding in the city. We were at Crystal Tea Room.
Okay.
I'm giving like a couple hints here because there's a couple people who are going to know what I'm talking about. But there was a vendor who we were working very closely with. They were wearing jeans and a t-shirt and a baseball hat and sneakers. I went up to him, and I'm not sure why I asked this question. In retrospect, I probably shouldn't have said anything. I was like, do you need time to get changed before we do the room reveal and everything? And he basically looked at me and said, changed?
Right. And
okay.
I actually have a point to feed off of that.
Okay.
I actually had to send a second shooter home one time because they decided to show up to my wedding with blue jeans, a polo, and sneakers. I said, you either have to go to Walmart, you either have to go to Target, go somewhere. You cannot wear this. Go buy a pair of slacks. This is just not wedding attire.
A lot of people who are going to be working at a wedding sometimes overlook the fact that you're not out of the public eye. You have to represent,
Absolutely.
Even though you're not attending the wedding.
Absolutely.
You are part of the backdrop to the wedding, part of the experience for everyone. So you need to look professional. Do you have a don't? You have another don't for me?
Ooh, another don't would be, I don't think you should wear sneakers, flip-flops, or open-toed shoes to a wedding. I think it should be a dress shoe or an all-black shoe.
Even as a woman?
Why is it different for women and men?
Because I find that the available options for open-toed shoes for women can be dressy depending on the rest of the outfit.
Okay.
I can't think of any men's shoes, or at least men's fashion, that would be dressy enough with an open-toe shoe to be appropriate for a wedding, if that makes sense. I mean, there's honestly, the place I bought this suit from, the company's called Dandy Del Mar. It was an Instagram purchase.
Sucked you in.
But
yeah.
I mean, it fits great. I love it.
Yeah, it looks good.
But in a lot of the editorial photos for it, the person wearing this suit is in these, they're a Spanish sandal.
Okay.
It's technically closed-toed, but it's a sandal. And I looked at it and went like, I love how that looks, but I couldn't wear it to a wedding.
So here's the thing, right? You have to remember there are millions of photographers out there, and we are lucky to be in this luxury market, right? Where we have an expectation of what is appropriate to wear. But there are so many other photographers out there that are shooting maybe lower budget weddings and still show up to these weddings with, sweatpants or a t-shirt and jeans. I literally have seen a wedding where I was working and the videographer showed up in basketball shorts, a t-shirt, and sneakers. I was mind blown.
So this is a perfect transition because I was going to do a do, but that leads me into a don't, which I experienced at a family wedding recently.
Okay.
Because we're talking about fashion and expressing yourself, right?
Exactly.
I'm all about it, but don't be a distraction. This photographer, I was a guest at a wedding, and he was dressed so, I don't want to say bizarrely, because honestly, if he wore that as street fashion for like New York Fashion Week,
yeah, it would work.
I'd be like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But it was so far gone from typical wedding attire that it was distracting. Like what? Like every guest was like, what is that dude wearing? So don't be a distraction.
Yeah.
But let me lead into a quick do for you because I need to shout this person out because this is probably one of the best wedding vendor tips I've ever received, and I do it at every wedding.
Okay.
First, I'm going to shout out a guy that you know also, Benj Heish. Hey, Benj, this is the best tip I've ever gotten, and I'm pretty sure I text you every time I do this just to say thank you. This goes along with you saying don't wear sneakers, which I agree with, except for this particular situation. Always change your shoes for the reception. Even if your feet don't hurt.
That actually is I think a rule to the exception. So
exception to the rule.
Exception to the rule.
We're leaving all of your switch it because if I have to edit all of my ums out, we're leaving in his flip-floppy things. Okay, anyway, continue.
So I think I would agree with you. I think from the beginning, when you meet the bride in the morning, up until the beginning of the reception, you should wear something nice.
What I do at every wedding now, I bought a pair of, if any of you out there have not tried Hoka's yet, they are like having clouds on your feet.
Okay.
I don't know if I would wear this particular pair like in life, but they're just an all black pair of one of their sneakers is.
Yeah.
It blends in with pretty much everything else I wear because generally I'm wearing black shoes.
Okay.
Just because that goes with what
you're wearing.
Right. But even if my shoes are not bothering me by the reception, we've probably been on our feet for 6, 7, 8 hours at that point. Just changing like where the pressure points are on your feet are so comfortable. So I will pop these off. I wear these to weddings a lot and put those on, and it just gives you life at hour like 8 of your wedding day. So that's my last do.
Yeah. So I definitely think, those are definitely some good do's and don'ts, man. Yeah. That being said, though, I'm gonna bring up another topic for you.
Okay.
So I recently made a reel on Instagram that some people felt was a little controversial.
I feel like that's your favorite thing to do. I forget to post on social media, and he just wants people to engage him with dislikes.
So I'm gonna throw this scenario out to you.
Okay, I'm ready.
And I want to see how you feel about it.
Okay.
So I think that the groom on his wedding day should not consider wearing a navy blue suit.
Okay.
Hear me out.
I'm here. I'm ready. I'm here for it.
So recently, over the last few months, I've seen a lot of grooms wear either a black tux or a navy blue suit. And honestly, I think we should outlaw both of those. But people think I'm crazy, but I personally think...
I have a hot take on this, so continue.
I know. I personally
with one of those two things, but...
I personally think if you add a little bit of color to your suit, not only could it potentially match more with the theme and the vibe of your wedding day, because, I feel like most brides have a color palette, right? They have a color palette of what they want their wedding to look like.
Totally.
Which is, if you want it to be black and white, then that's cool. But like, if you have colors in your flowers, it would be really pretty to add color to your groom's suit. So maybe a brown or a maroon.
Black and white on wedding day? Groundbreaking.
I just think we should consider being different. And also, it will photograph so much better on camera.
Do you have suggestions on, let's say there is a soon-to-be married groom listening or watching this podcast. Do you have suggestions on where to find inspiration for that? Because I find that
absolutely
a lot of grooms aren't, I don't want to say fashion forward, but they just sort of do what they know. And when they see, especially with the navy suit, right?
Yeah.
That's just, I've been in a couple weddings. We always wore navy suits, and now I'm going to do navy suits. And I agree with you. I think the navy suits and the gray suits, this is coming from someone who had his groomsmen wear gray suits for the wedding. It's 2014. All right, give me a break. But where would you suggest they look for inspiration and feel confident enough to try that? Because a lot of grooms just want to look nice, but they dress the way they know, and they don't want to necessarily push boundaries.
So fellas, this is for you, okay? Yes, the wedding day is 99.999% about the bride. It's not about me, the photographer. It's not about you, the groom, but it's about...
I don't know. When I got married,
the bride.
I tried to make it a lot about me. But that's fine too. That's
right, that's the 0.1%. So, yes, it's about her, but it's still your wedding day. If I were to recommend a way to be a little outgoing or fashion forward, the number one tool is Pinterest. Go onto Pinterest and you can type in creative outfit for a groom on his wedding day, or colorful suit, or something unique. And then that way you'll see a ton of different types of examples, and that will really help you in terms of buying something different. I think Suit Supply, Indochino, these are places that you can go to find unique looking suits.
As someone who worked in retail for a while, I worked for Apple and I worked for Abercrombie and Fitch for a decent amount of time. When you see the styles that are put on the mannequins, there has been so much R&D that has gone into that exact pairing of stuff.
For them, yeah.
Don't feel bad about going in there and just buying what's on a mannequin.
That's actually a great hack.
Those, like, if you don't know how to put together an outfit, it's fine, because someone higher up and 4 people under them have already done it for you.
Right.
H&M.
Yeah.
Go to H&M, buy stuff that's on the mannequin, because they put the mannequin right next to the stuff.
Yeah.
And just buy the stuff.
That's a good.
People will be like, "Oh, you put that outfit together so well." It's like, "Hey, yes, I did," but you really didn't. So
I don't think anything is wrong with a black suit or a navy blue suit. I do own both of those, probably 2 pairs of each, but just try to be different. Just stand out a little bit.
I love what you said. I am going to agree, but I'm actually going to go the other way with it.
Okay.
So first of all, I know you said the black tux thing. I don't think a black tux will ever not be awesome.
Classic.
Now,
absolutely.
The caveat to that is a black tux that fits you correctly is the difference between don't wear a black tux and, oh my God, a black tux.
I agree.
If you're choosing to go the black tux route, which I do really like, I think it's the most classic thing you can wear. I own a tux, which is a rarity for some people. Go buy a tux you like and go to a tailor and have them fit it, because that is the biggest difference. I think the most important thing is that you feel comfortable in what you're wearing, but don't be afraid to take risks, because if you have been in a wedding before and you've worn something and said, yeah, we're just going to do that.
Yeah. So I guess the moral of all this is don't be afraid to take risk as you're planning your wedding, because it might really allow you to be in your element on your wedding day and make you feel comfortable.
And we're focusing this on men's fashion. One thing that would always be helpful is talking to the bride, talking to your fiance, getting some ideas. You know, I love the idea of groomsmen and the groom wearing all different colors.
I like that too.
I've shot one wedding like that, and it was one of the coolest things. And now I try to convince so many people to do it. It was a fall color palette, and the grooms basically went, I think it was Suit Supply. Okay. They all got the same cut suit, but different shades of earth tones. So stuff like that.
Yeah.
But how would you sum up everything we're talking about right now?
So I would say, one, definitely, like you said, don't be afraid to take risk. I think that's the number one thing. Definitely dress professionally to a wedding. You never know who's watching, and you are your brand. Yeah. You know, the second you step out of your house.
Here's a great question. If you had one, okay, so let's say we have a wedding vendor. He or she could be doing whatever. If you could give them one piece of advice, how to like dip their toes into trying to be, I don't want to say more fashionable, but dip their toes into expressing themselves via their outfits, what's the one piece of advice you would give?
Step out of your comfort zone. You can ask friends. You can go on Pinterest.
Find your most fashionable friend. That friend you have that you're like, I wish I could pull that off.
Exactly.
And talk to them.
Right. And you'd be surprised how it makes you feel more confident. And on top of that, I'm going to tell you one thing I think a lot of photographers might struggle with. Is on a wedding day, at least, you know, in the beginning for me, I would get so nervous, like getting ready to go to a wedding. And I wouldn't take the time to truly prepare what I'm going to wear. So I just grab an all black outfit and go to the wedding. So if you can, the night before, maybe consider planning your outfit, what you want to wear the next day. So then that way you don't feel rushed when you're preparing for a wedding. And then that way you're like, okay, I feel good, you know?
I'm going to sum this up in a very easy to do task for wedding vendors. Come close. Come very close.
Not that
Come
close.
in here. Very close. Oh, too far. Back up. If you are a wedding vendor, I want you to go into your closet right now, or your drawers, or wherever, because this is very important.
Why is he whispering?
Grab every black polo shirt that you own.
Throw in the garbage.
And I want you to take those black polo shirts, drive to your nearest Green Drop or anywhere where you could donate these to someone who really needs them, and get them all out of your house.
Yes.
And now you are forced to find something else to wear on top.
There we go.
And that's my biggest piece of advice to you. Beyond the black polo, think bigger, people. Wear something nice.
On that note, my guy, you know what time it is.
I do. Wait. We're doing the hot button topic, which I don't know what it is, but I told him it needs to be spicy this week because he put a bottle of Jameson here. So,
yes,
hit me.
Okay. What are your thoughts on content creators potentially taking the job of not only photographers, but also videographers in the next, 3 to 5 years?
That is a great question. Without going on a rant for 20 minutes, I think that the best way I've heard it described, I don't remember, and I'm sorry I don't remember who said this, but content, which is a word that has taken on so many meanings, I feel like is here and now. And I think that's great. And having stuff to share immediately at your wedding for whatever is great, especially for people who can't be there.
Sure.
Or just making it look like a ton of fun, which I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
But I feel if people start booking content creators as a substitute for photographers or videographers in 30 years.
Starting to happen, bro. I don't know.
I understand, and I know this, but I think that in 20, 30 years, when all they have from their wedding is vertical content, are you going to find a way to give that, like have your grandkids be able to see that?
See, now I have a different take because look at the way that our world is evolving. Sure. AI is taking over. You have influencers that are taking over social media. People don't make decisions without knowing what their favorite influencer has done.
100%.
So a lot of content is going to be like, I feel like a lot of things in our lives are going to be taken over by content. And, you know, I personally, I agree with you. I think, you know, I don't know how I feel about this because.
Oh, so you made the hot button topic and didn't know how you felt about it.
Because look at iPhone like quality, like the way it takes photos, the quality of iPhones. Mm-hmm. They're getting better and better and better. Imagine in 10 years from now, it's going to be something crazy because 10 years ago, the quality of cameras on phones were trash. Now, 10 years later, it's amazing. And 10 years from now, it might just blow our minds. So, you know, I think that's why it's so important to hone in as a brand, sure. Not necessarily just the photography aspect of it. Like, what can I offer you as a total package beyond just great photos?
And I think that you have opened the door for an entire episode on this.
Oh, absolutely.
As you're talking, literally every point you make, I'm like, I have something about that. I have something about it. But I think the long and the short of it is, from my perspective, I don't feel that, at least the way content is now and how it's absorbed and how it's filmed and how it's, what's the word I'm looking for? How content is filmed even. So the short form content and things, yeah. I don't know, looking at it objectively, if that is a good representation of how your wedding day was, where I feel that...
Wait, why not? Because they could be right alongside a photographer and capture the same moments.
Sure, but what we discussed, especially in the last episode, when we were talking about sort of our journeys, was that, you know, I think that content, at least how it is now, will never really be able to capture those in-between moments.
Okay.
It'll get those hero shots that we talked about. It'll get the best parts of the day. And if that's what you're looking for, great. But I think my favorite thing about my wedding album is seeing those in-between moments. So I really believe that as content is now, I don't think it's a substitute. That being said, yeah. Who are we to know what the future is going to hold with that kind of stuff? So right now, I think that it makes me sad sometimes to see...
Sad? Well, you know what? Let me not, because then we're gonna go on a rant about this. But
we'll get into it. But the long and the short of it is, I don't think, as it is now, that they are future-proof substitutes for a photographer and a videographer.
Okay. Man, we hit some good topics today.
Yeah, man.
I hope you guys are loving the content so far. This is sort of how we plan on doing these episodes, and probably within the next maybe 3 to 4 or maybe 5 episodes, we'll start to bring on some guests, you know, get a little interesting and have some hot.
And hey, maybe there'll be like Everclear here next time, and I'll just really get into it. However he decides to sabotage my commentary on all of this. And let's see how many you have to edit out this time.
Cheers, bro.
Ready? And theme song.
Bring the giants out, bring the giants out, bring the giants out, bring the giants out.